see what's up, see how everybody doing, what's happening, what's on. Had a great day yesterday. Had some good commentary. Some people come through. So I'll be here, again, just like yesterday. I'll see how anybody show up. If anybody come through, I'll stay on. If they don't, I'll cut it in half. Just got through shooting some videos. I had some requests with some cool people. So I just shot some videos. I just did some regulars, which will appear in some hours. The next 5 or 10, they'll be on. Just got through unloading them. Just going to address what I saw yesterday. Just football talk real quick. 49ers beat Green Bay. That was like a typical 49ers Green Bay playoff game. It was a battle to the end. I think Jordan Love shut up a lot of people. He's going to be a handful some more season. That's going to be a team, you know. They matched up well against Frisco. It's just that the 49ers had a little bit going on with McCaffrey, and they just, had a couple options. But it was a pretty battle-tested game. Purdy was consistent. Jordan Love did pretty good. He had a couple interceptions. But, I mean, McCaffrey and, Aaron Jones, they about cancel each other out. So it was, there was just like a couple of things in the game that could have gone out of the way with that. But it was a battle. Make no mistake about it. That was a battle right there. That was like the old Frisco Green Bay games. So keep your eye on that. And then, of course, I talked about the Baltimore Texas Houston game. Some people are going to look at 34-10 and think it was really a blowout. It was a pretty close game. It was just that Houston just couldn't make any more offensive plays. I think they had a chance to get one interception or something they didn't do. And they had a chance in the first half. But they were around, but it's just that Lamar Jackson was too much as the game went on. So what's up? What's up? Good to have you, T. You lost, but you got nothing to hold your head about. Jordan Love definitely won people over, played a great game, very poised, very professional. Frisco just having to make a couple more plays. Kittle hit a big one. McCaffrey hit a big one. That's all it was. You just lost to a more talented team. So there's nothing to hold your head about. If you going in there, considering people probably didn't think y'all was as serious against Dallas, but let me give you your dap. You scored 69 points up against two of the top 3 teams in the NFC, okay? There's nothing to hold your hat about. And you gave up 56 points. But you played Frisco to the vest. I think that was a hard-fought game. That took me back to like that one when the Niners beat them with T.O., that big play of Leroy Butler and all that back in the day. But this was a battle. You're going to be around. You got nothing to hold your head about. LaFleur got his man. Jordan Love is only going to get better. So I wouldn't – it's painful right now, but the sky could be the limit. Mr. Love will be back, just like C.J. Stroud with Houston. Yeah. You were in that game. So there's nothing to hold your head about. And when a young team has got a young quarterback and a new system, and you make those kind of strides and you got to the second round, there's no holding your head in shame. Because I think Frisco know, hey, y'all played against some men there. And Jordan Love definitely earned his stripes. So I think it was a hard-fought game, Packers played a lot better than a lot of people thought they did. Now, I know I saw Skip Bayless with his old tacky turkey tweet talking about, Dak put all those numbers up in the fourth quarter. I said, yeah, they were empty calories, as Shannon Sharp said, but it was 48-16. Green Bay is a legit team. But let me tell you something. If you thought you were going to put a 48-50 burger in Frisco, well, you're underestimating the 49ers defense. San Francisco ain't Dallas. They did get some open looks in that game yesterday, but it's not the same. You're not going to beat Frisco full throttle like that. Not like that. So, just saying. Yeah, and I just did a video where I've lasted Parsons, because Parsons is an idiot and he's overrated. I'm going to tell you why. Because he ain't done nothing. All he's done is one postseason win the last couple of years and get your butt knocked out. You got all foxed by the 49ers because your offense is inept, and you just got holes on defense this year. I wouldn't say nothing. If anything, he need to sit with a dunce cap next to Skip Bayless and say, whatever you say is true, man. Because the cameraman was the only one who kept up with your Packers tight ends. And we're talking about the third string tight end wide open. like so wide open that it was hilarious. Like you almost thought that the Packer tight end Musgrove was over there with the pom pom girls for the Cowboy cheerleaders because he was that wide open. No one saw him. Embarrassing coverage. Yeah, I heard that McCarthy's on. I'm gonna do a video about that tomorrow. He's on a year to year next year because if he stinks it up, he's gone. There's no contract extension. Well, they don't deserve it. You've been 12-5 the last 3 years, and you're a first round casualty. How many more games are they gonna keep giving you to boast your overinflated year in record, and you don't do nothing? Well, Parsons is really good. He's got a chance to be great, but don't compare him to Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence happens to be my cousin two times over. Met him back in Williamsburg, Virginia, almost 40 years ago. His mother and daddy's house, and we chopped it up back then. Don't put him with my cousins. And Micah Parsons don't even deserve to wear Danny White's number 11 because he ain't do nothing. They stunk it up. You know, it's one thing when cats are double boxing you, but your secondary gets 8. Y'all can't get no pass rush. Jordan Love was throwing off the back foot, side foot, roll foot, any foot, slew foot, and just target practice and teeing off on you like you weren't even there. He nearly had a flawless game for a couple of plays. I mean, if that was 48-16 with 6 minutes to go in the game, let that sink in. But I don't know if you trade him. I don't think you can get no quality for him. That's the downside. You know, they did get a steal with him, and he does have a special skill set, except it doesn't come up when it needs to come up. Against garbage teams, he looks like a beast. But don't compare him to my cousin, because my cousin, he single-handedly owned the NFC East back in the day. Parsons, the Giants ain't represent. Giants in Washington and parts of Philly don't represent the whole NFC. You got to do better than that. Yeah, Jimmy Barnelli came out of his hair. Well, the problem is that Mike McCarthy is not Jimmy Johnson. Mike McCarthy does not make, you know, they don't have the talent that Jimmy Johnson had with too. So in his defense, because Tony Pollard is not Emmitt Smith. Dak Prescott is not Troy Aikman. CeeDee Lamb and them are not Michael Irvin. They're better. They have more of an overall skill set than Alvin Harper. Their defense ain't. Their defense then with Micah, they have you thinking Micah, like, look, Micah ain't scarier than what they had. They had a better, but the bottom line is this: they underachieve and they're overhyped. And they're just as overrated as Skip Bayless, but he was right in that instance. That was embarrassing. You know. It's 27-7 at halftime. I'm like, really? He threw a pick six. He threw 2 picks and one. It could have been 2 pick sixes. I'm like, Dak's been there gonna be almost 10 years. There's no excuse for his, there's no excuse for that. Not for that way he played. So I can't condone it. I can't condone it. So. So that's, he spoke. They didn't do no good though. They still gave him 21 points after halftime. And they scored some token points. They all clowned Dak. I remember when he got clowned in the training camp. Well, the guy said the words to him, and I thought, wow. He basically called him out his name for throwing a pick during when they were scrimmaging. You knew it was going to be a long year with that. No, because CeeDee Lamb should actually, he's not top 1, 2, or 3, but he should be if he had a quarterback that was accurate. Because Lamb gets you some numbers. I mean, he'll have some bursts, but they're not utilizing. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. I'm not overwhelmed by their receivers. I'm not feeling. It's something missing. But I know it's meathead because Mike McCarthy, I'm going to tell you something. He had Brett Favre and he had Aaron Rodgers, all them MVPs, 1 Super Bowl win to show for it. He underachieved. And the same thing with Dallas. Dallas just does not scare nobody. They would actually be better off being mediocre and making the playoffs than front running like they pretend to be and then get knocked out. 12 wins don't mean nothing. You win all them games and you're first round casualty, you're just faking the funk. You're better off being a middle of the road team than to front like what you're fronting. So that's what happened. But I don't have no problem with CeeDee Lamb. I like Lamb. Yeah, he probably, I mean, he's at a catch. He's a catch 22 because I mean, is Trey Lance worthy of giving Dak a run at quarterback? I don't think so. You know, and the problem is that they're stuck with Dak. You can't really get anything better. You could get something equal. You're really at a catch 22. So you got to kind of make that thing work. But Dak's just not the answer. I mean, the cat's been there almost 10 years now. And he's really much headed towards Tony Romoville. Just saying. And Romo's problem was, well, yeah, his biggest problem. I was one of the passes that somebody had sent me. I saw one of his passes he threw in one of the games, and he really missed the mark over the middle because a lot of it was just spot passing. He got a strong arm, and he definitely got wheels. Like I said, I remember the game when him and Justin Fields went at it. When he got wheels, but his passing sometimes can be erratic to some drops over the middle. But Purdy is consistent. Purdy is a timely, precise passer. That's the difference. Purdy doesn't usually make too many mistakes off the back because if he doesn't get pushed towards his right to throw to his left, if he can get outside and kind of throw the ball across his body, Purdy can get away with some stuff. But Lance got skills, but at quarterbacking is different. And there's a difference. See, there's a difference between what Lamar Jackson, just because you're mobile, can you pass on the run? Can you pass on the go? So it's a little bit different. It gets real technical. But, sometimes you just don't fit a certain style of offense. That's how I look at it, And I really can't get the whole basis, but they obviously didn't see much in Trey Lance to keep him. And he couldn't take Jimmy G either. And you know how erratic Jimmy G is, so that speaks volumes in itself. Purdy I can buy because Purdy is pretty consistent what he does. You're not going to get a lot, but he's accurate. So, but, but I think to be honest with you, Kyle Shanahan, if they had lost that game to Green Bay, his butt might be on the hot seat. He still might be. He should be. I mean, how long has Frisco been the best team in the NFC? And you can make the argument that the 49ers are kind of like the Boston Celtics of the NFL. But the way they go about Tatum and Brown is how you go about Kyle Shanahan's offensive jewelry. And what's they got to show? One Super Bowl runner-up appearance, and they blew it. The X factor against Mahomes and KC, you really and truly want Mahomes to pass more. You don't want Pacheco, the running back, to get going. That's really it. Because if they start feeling confident with the ground game, and one of the things that they have done against the Bills is pound the ball, and they've been able to get physical. So it's cold weather. You want Mahomes to have to throw the ball 30, 40 times. You don't want him to get comfortable where they can get the ground attack and then can slow the ball game down. Yeah. What about Kincaid? That's how I would. If I'm going to beat Kansas City, I don't want them running. I want him passing. Even if the Cats catch the ball, I want them passing more than I want them running, because the thing about it is the way they're formulating their style right now, they're going to more of a meat and potatoes, and their defense is pounding you out. So if they wear you out and don't let Mahomes get going, then they already got the ground game going. That's where they become more dangerous. So you want him passing, and you got to stop the run, because they got feisty running backs, and you don't want that to get going. So that's how I would do to offset that. To me, that's the X factor. And the offense against Kansas City, you want to round the ball on them. Josh Allen can't be cute. Don't get into no turnovers. Don't give them no half field. Don't give don't give their kicker no opportunities to get extra field goals or anything, because they're in a situation they don't have to beat you with a lot. That's what a lot of people are not realizing. And that's the greatness of Mahomes really coming into another vision, because if he doesn't have to overexert himself and they can still beat you with a low scoring game or get physical with you, that just makes Andy Reid look more like looks like a genius. So you got to make them. You want him to beat you with what he beat you with, and that's his arm. And you want him to get, you got to keep pressure on him, and you want him to throw the rock. And you want to make it like that. You don't want it to get into a physical, you know. And I just say that because you got to do him. You got to go at him like that. Yeah, I would do some slants and some fades. I would maximize. I do even some screen plays. I keep it short in the field. Postseason football is like NBA in the postseason. It's all about half court adjustments. You don't want to go all the way down and like that. You want to, this is going to be a big round for the Bills, because last year at this time when they played the Cincinnati Bengals, they got their beat but thumped, and Cincinnati got physical and beat them up on the line, beat them up and said beat them up. So this time you got to get some get back, and they got to be able to run. It's okay if Josh runs for like maybe 30, 40 yards, maybe 50 tops, nothing more than that. He can't be the focal point of running, and he can't be out there taking unnecessary shots. He can't be out there trying to make stuff happen. You got to take what they give you and play off of it. You can do some play action, but you got to know how to do it. You use Diggs as bait, and you got others involved. So they just got to know how to, but also work the clock and also keep the pressure. But don't let them start running on you. Because I'm watching Kansas City now, and they are playing a very physical brand of football, and their defense has definitely stepped up. I think that because let's be realistic. Of what's his name? Had they been there game one for Kansas City on defense, they probably beat Detroit. If they don't drop them passes, that's a 13-14 win team. So I'm not going to even sit here and tell you otherwise. I'm not taking nothing away from Baltimore, nothing like that. But Kansas City is like a couple of drops and having a couple of things in place from winning 13, 14 games. And this is an off year for them. So they're very dangerous. And Mahomes is still the standard of quarterbacks and Andy Reid and all that. So, No, you don't want to. You want to do a stunt blitz with Mahomes. You don't want to, because again, sometimes when we play them, they hit certain pockets. Mahomes can hit pockets on you. He's one of the few quarterbacks who can hit pockets. So when you gamble, you better be on your money with him, because he can hit pockets on you. And by hitting pockets, he can hit a guy in the seam. He can hit guys on the sides on you. He's always had our number. Even when we were full throttle on defense, he's had our number. I have the utmost respect for Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is basically like our Tom Brady situation. Like Brady was against us for all those years. He's the same. It's the same thing, just a different make and model, but similar in that he's that quarterback you got to deal with. I know some people are going to come and throw Joe Burrow. We've had problems with Burrow. The biggest problem we've had with Burrow is because their receivers have been physical and how they got up on us. But with Kelsey, it's kind of like with Gronk. You don't let him. He likes to pretty much. It's almost like a Shaquille O'Neal situation where he likes to impose his body over the middle. So those little passes and inside 5-yard chucks that you hit him over there, you got to just stay on him. You just got to hit him. And you got to actually, again, you want him to go downfield. One of the things that killed us against them is that it's those 3, 4, 5-yard chunk plays that turn into 6, 7-yard drags because you don't tackle properly. And that's where he's more dangerous. And that's how you keep the clock going, and then they start to wear you down. You actually want Kelsey to go 10, 15, 20 yards deep. Keep him, make him more of a receiver. Don't let him just sit there and stock up 3 or 4 yards, get 5 yards per throw, and then they start to play action, because that's how he's beating us, by grinding us. So I would have him go out. I'd make him, I wouldn't have to double him, but I would say, keep an eye spot on him, but you make him actually run routes 5, 6, 7, 8 yards down the field. Don't let him get them little 4-yard plays, because that's how he wears on you. And that's what they want to do. cold weather, physical play on the line. You got to make them be accountable. You know, make them run, make them go, make them spread the field out. So that's how I would go against that. He's definitely lost a step though. You know, he's definitely lost a step. He definitely trying to get her a ring too. So I would make sure I'd make them play I watched what I caught against Miami. They beat Miami getting physical. The problem with him is that he tries to thread the needle. It's kind of like what Andrew Luck did in Roethlisberger. You think because you're trying to be seductive, you're trying to show off with your arm speed, and then he does have fire and zip, but he has to learn how to touch pass. He has to lead his receivers, and he has to put the ball in place when not only are they there, but also he gives them spacing. So he can, again, play calling has been a lot better once they got rid of Dorsey. So you have to play the whole spot of the field. He's going to be very effective if he doesn't get caught telegraphing. Yeah, I know they're going to do all that, and I expect that, I don't really think the refs are going to really. See, the thing is this. They don't, there have been some bad calls. There's some calls for everybody. Kansas City's just been a victim of their own, again, not having the right receivers, guys making mental mistakes and not finishing up. But I'm not going to, I'm not going to even take that into consideration because they've beaten us different ways over the years. Tyreek Hill beat us, juking. Holmes beat us because he's quick. And you got a guy like that, it don't take a lot to get in range, and he knows how to finish up, so he's a finisher. And they beat us getting physical with us. You have to be able to play at you. They've been vulnerable this year. Again, guys dropping passes, guys not picking up, but they, at the same time, their reputation and his reputation being a guy that if you don't give him a lot to work with and you keep him fit, you keep him honest, you got a chance. But you let Mahomes get out there and start dancing and shuffling, So this is what we've been wanting. We've been wanting to get them in Buffalo. Now we got to make it count. So let's put up a shutter for a lot of people. He's in a can't lose situation on Mahomes because the guy's had an historical start to his career. I mean, when you have 5 straight AFC Championship games in your backyard, you go to 3 Super Bowls and you're 2-1. You're doing 2 league MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I mean, who else would? I mean, that's. And remember, he lost the overtime game in Cincinnati and won those games. And they lost to New England in overtime. So you think about it. He's had 2 overtime games. He could have been in 2 Super Bowls, a couple of things here and there. So it's a heck of a career. I think I will look at Bowles, the coach, more in a different light. I'm not. The only thing that would, first of all, he has to have a big game against Detroit. If he comes across like a game manager, a guy who just got by, and I don't think that he can do that against Detroit. I think Detroit is a physical bunch, and I think because I saw that game a couple weeks ago against New Orleans, and he looked like the old Baker that I know and love, which sucked. And dare I say this, they didn't really play nobody last week because, I mean, Philadelphia was nothing. I mean, that they couldn't even play flag football, let alone tackle. So he had a couple plays which were just broken tackles, which was embarrassing. Well, I will give him this. He has definitely been poised in some games, and he's played pretty good. But I'm not here to ride no Baker Mayfield wagon. I still think that he is overrated, 3rd-tier quarterback at best. Will I see him in a different light? If he beats Detroit up, yes. If he goes in Detroit and puts up 2 or 3 touchdowns and doesn't throw any picks, has like 250, 270 yards, say he's 20 out of 24 or something like that, and he plays an effective game against that defense and makes a statement, then yeah, I will say he came up. I think he was there when Jameson was there, and it's the coordinating because he's he was a smart quarterback. He wasn't a great quarterback, but he was smart. And when he played, he did things the right way. He was very competent, very poised. Wasn't the most gifted with speed. I always had respect for Leftwich from college when they lifted him up in a game just to get him up on the field. He definitely had team respect. And he definitely should have he'd have had 5 or 10 jobs by now. Anybody who gets a job in Atlanta, Leftwich would have had 2 years ago. Anybody who he should have gotten a job with the Chargers. That's a great call that you're making. He should be the one that's coaching the Chargers. Next, because Herbert needs that kind of guy. Leftwich been proving himself. I was trying to talk about Bruce Arians, but Leftwich definitely got some. He would be Arizona. I can name a lot of places. Mm-hmm. And quiet as is kept. If the Dolphins keep on being all fake and fraudulent, he might be in line to get that job next year. I'm just saying, keep your eyes open. If Miami has another choke meltdown next year and they be fool's gold, there you go. So, but yeah, I mean, I know I might be hard on Baker. I just don't like pompous, pretentious white boys who get over like it was kind of like Johnny Manziel. He was just like that, except he had a little bit of going for him. No. I think it's hard for me who would be the right coach for the Bills. I wouldn't say Leftwich though. I think it would be. I mean, if I had my wish, if we just playing Let's Make a Wish, it would be Tony Dungy if he came out of retirement. That would be the one because he know how to balance ego and talent. Because I really believe you need the kind of coach that can balance that. Harbaugh would be a great candidate because I think that a guy that's on the cusp of something, and I don't think Sean McDermott, if he loses his game, he should be gone. So Harbaugh would definitely be someone I would want. But that don't mean I don't like Leftwich. I think Leftwich, because Leftwich can coach up people, but I think you got to have ego to match ego. That's why I say Harbaugh. But if I couldn't get, Dungy would be my ultimate though, if he was available. I think you got to have the right balance of ego and poise to coach a certain type of talent, So, so that's but I like yeah. Harbaugh to either Buffalo or Harbaugh to the Chargers would make all the sense in the world. Just saying. But I think Leftwich should definitely get a lot of job opportunities. I definitely feel that way. And so should with anybody that can do the job should definitely get that opportunity. But you know how the politics is, the politricks. So that's how I look at it, though. So yeah. So yeah. So feel free to me with that prime peak. I don't think he'd be too black. I think his biggest problem is can he separate who he was and who he is from what he's doing. One of the mistakes that I saw that hurt Colorado was that his son, Sean got a lot of hype, and he should. And of course, Dion is a soul brother, and he's going to implement certain things. But like I said, two problems: guys are getting paid more than them to just tap and dance and do what they want with the way he paid dues. So it's a different era. Okay, that's a good one. Freeney was a bad boy in Jared. I'm going to say, what's up? What's up? It's the Bean Man. What's up? What's up? I'm going to give it to. I was a big Freeney man, but I might give it to Jared Allen. It is close though, because Freeney was bad though, but a slight edge to Jared Allen. Slight, just a little bit. But that was a good topic. I had to think that you got me on that one. Now that's a good one. What's up here, Elaine? Okay, just reading that. I'm more of a Sap dude because he had an impact and he should have been, obviously coming out of the U. But John Roundel was a bad boy though. I mean, with the face paint alone, he was crazy. He was bad. Sap came with the hype and Sap was a game changer. And that's a good one right there. Because Roundel was bad. He was bad. But I got to give Sap, I'm always more of a Sap dude. I still remember that debut, that game where he hurt Jerry Rice and Steve Young in that Tampa Bay Frisco game. I'll never forget that. And Sap came with it. And Sap talked trash and backed it up. I was a Sap dude, but Randall was bad though. I mean, it's kind of like preferences. Okay, now we getting warm now. And I know this would be sight unseen. You think this was tough. I have to say Sharp in a blowout, and I'm gonna tell you why. Gonzalez was more athletic with the slam dunking, a freak, like actually more of a prototypical tight end of what you see with Kelsey and Gronk in terms of what you see with his athleticism. But Shannon Sharp won games, talked the trash, walked the walk, and was tough and physical. And he was kind of like, he was like a precursor, could have been like a wide out too, but he beat you physically. So, tell me what I'm lying about. Go ahead and tell me. I just see treetop. Um, I like Gonzalez a lot though. Gonzalez to me was like a prototype for Johnny Graham, some more of the finesse tight ends. And you could see Gonzalez, uh, his speed, his athleticism, but Shay physically, he was dominant, went to a different direction, and there's a reason why he was a standard. He was an interesting tight end too, because really, Shannon Sharp, I don't really see another tight end that puts me in the frame of mind. Because like these guys are cut to be wideouts and the way they run routes and stuff. But Sharp was physical. It wasn't even like Kellen Winslow Sr. when I think about it. Now, having said all that, though, Sterling was a better football player than Shannon, but Shannon had put it all together. Oh, that's a good one. Because this is what I call, and I was top dog. You just playing. I got to go with Andre Rison. Chad was bad. Even though I looked at Chad like a broke TO, and he definitely modeled his game after him. But Andre Rison was kind of underrated. I mean, you got to remember when he was Atlanta, you had guys that were more known, obviously Michael Irvin, Jerry Rice, but he was running in Andre Reed, but he was running in them circles. I mean, he was legit. It's just the Falcons just didn't have enough. They didn't have the right quarterback. They didn't have the depth. But Rison was a bad dude. He was a bad dude, and I felt him more. What the thing with Ocho is that after a while the gimmicks overtook him. He was bad though, but I thought Andre Rison had the edge there. And I liked them both. Chad had good wheels and good motor. Rison was a bad dude. Just and sometimes it comes down to what you preference and what you see. But I thought Andre Rison had more going for him overall. But that's a good one right there. That's a good one. Just like when you asked me about Gonzalez and Sharp, those are there, but I can definitely see a difference. I can tell you why I would sway to one way or the other, because I still haven't really seen another tight end like Shannon Sharp. I'm not saying that I'm not saying the Cats that he was better, because I think that. So because I live near Seattle, I got to experience a lot of Dave Krieg. Dave Krieg was hit and miss. When he hit, but when he missed, and he could be erratic. Had a nice touch. Bledsoe was the kind of dude. Right, I'll make this analogy, and I don't know if you'll get it, but I'll say it anyway. Bledsoe was kind of like it was kind of like when Riddick Bowe was blown up as a heavyweight, and on Sports Illustrated, everybody gave him all the hype, and Rolling Stone put him on the cover. Rolling Stone put him on the cover and blew him up. And the prototypical size, strength, big, tall, he had the tools, but it just didn't finish to the finish line. That's how I looked at Bledsoe. He had the attributes to being that dude, but he just wasn't a finisher. But if you're asking me out those two, I'm taking Bledsoe all day. Dave Craig had skills and was good, but Bledsoe showed me more. I saw more out of Bledsoe that moved me more, you know, because he did lead his team to a Super Bowl. He went to New England against Green Bay, and he had a hand, helped New England obviously when he lost his job to Brady, but he was a top tier guy. Oh, this is a good one. Now you really going good here. Now you really you going to my football knowledge here. Again was a bad man on that Ravens line. And there is no wrong answer here. If I have to pick, I have to give it to Jonathan Hodgkin because he stood out more because let's be realistic. All due respect to Larry Allen, was a bad boy and Hall of Fame worthy, etc. All that. The Ravens, that was a known fact that dude pulled that line. Dallas had other guys on their line that you could say with the size, with the strength, but Jonathan Hodgkin was he's kind of stuff, but it's close. And Larry Allen, you couldn't go wrong with a wrong answer there. I saw a lot of Bruce Matthews growing up, but I saw a lot of Anthony Munoz. And Munoz with the Bengals, I have to give him a slight edge there. He definitely imposed. You ask him about guys in them trenches, and Munoz I got him over him. That's a good one though. That's a good one. I like how you balancing out the questions today too, because sometimes you're asking me about certain quarterbacks who fall in receivers and quarterbacks are falling in tier levels. I like how you're doing it with the tiers too, because to me, Chad and Andre are like second tiers. Bledsoe and Craig were second tiers. Okay, now you're gonna ask me this one. You were asking me this one for real? Okay, this ain't hard for me at all. It's Marvin Harrison and the blow, and I'm gonna tell you why. He could pretty much do everything Chris Carter could do. Carter was bad for his catching touchdowns and everything. And Carter is one of those guys that had his thing together a little bit early on. We may have had him in the conversation with Harrison and T.O. and Moss and Bryce and those guys. He scored touchdowns, but it's like he kind of stat pad, and he had a big spurt, but you kind of forget about it because it was some stuff that kind of wanted to have a quarterback who's one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks ever. That's what worked against him. But his timing, fade routes, when he would catch those rocks, his footwork. Marvin Harrison is one of the most underrated receivers ever. He's top 10 ever. So you ask Harrison higher. Carter scored touchdowns, and that's what he was known for. But Marvin Harrison did everything else right, and he was consistent. I mean, I got him over Chris Carter. It's really close for me because he covered a lot of bases. He really did. The problem that works against Harrison is because he was so silent, but his game wasn't silent. He came up big. So that's a good one though, because a lot of people would not even ask to put those two together. And that's a great one that you came up with. That would definitely make a good video post on its own. And Chris Carter is kind of forgotten in a way because he played Randy Moss. He scored a lot of touchdowns, but a lot of stuff kind of got him sidetracked in his journey. Marvin Harrison, he just was quiet. But he scored. He came up big. Now you're trying to get the football geek out of me on this one. Let me talk about the one who didn't win first. Kosar was accurate over time with Cleveland. And I remember when he was in Miami, I remember the last part of his career. But McNabb was a better quarterback. McNabb is one of those guys, sadly, because he had one runner-up Super Bowl appearance and he didn't quite get to another level. He may have been a little bit of an overachiever. And then, of course, we saw it faded out in Washington. but he was a better quarterback than Bernie. Bernie was accurate, but Bernie didn't come up enough. There was things that obviously Cleveland came up short in, and it works against them. And you could kind of say he underachieved in some ways, and maybe over. I think McNabb just showed me a bit more, believe it or not. But Donovan, because they went to all those NFC championship games and didn't win, and only got to one Super Bowl, some people may hold against him. McNabb was very good. I got him over Bernie, but Bernie was a very accurate passer. That's a good one actually, though, because those are two guys that most people aren't going to even mention the two. That's a good one. I like how you're thinking with that one. I like how you're thinking on that one. Yeah. And I thought McNabb, the thing with T.O. is it worked against him when it should have worked for him. Because when he had a top tier receiver, he didn't finish it up. Kosar was very poor. He just, he didn't overdo it. He did what he's supposed to do. Had a certain type of accuracy. But I got to give it to Donovan. Mm-hmm. But that's a good one, though. That's one of the ones you got to kind of go back on. That's a good one. And tier level, I got McNabb over Bernie, too. Tier level. So. You probably think this one is hard for me. It's not. Even though Sean Alexander was a league MVP and everything like that, a lot of times I lived in the Northwest, people thought he was kind of soft. And when he got traded to Washington, his Washington jersey, when he played for Washington football team, was about as memorable as Rasheed Wallace in Atlanta with the Hawks. Not that memorable. Edge James was a beast. I mean, he was consistent. Now that he hit it hard, and the thing about it is this too. The thing that works against Sean Alexander because Walter. That was one of the things that helped Sean Alexander a lot. They had a big old line, and he rode that convoy. Without it, it wasn't much to him. Eventually, he had that moment and it kind of faded. But Edgerrin James was consistent. Edge was nice, and with Alexander, to put it to you in perspective, more people will tell you that they felt Marshawn Lynch more than they do Alexander. Alexander got the MVP. Just saying. Edgerrin James will get as much love as Marshall Faulk with the Colts. So that's to put that in perspective too. Okay, versus Emmett. Faulk is a better all-around back as far as his offensive contributes as far as running and catching out the backfield. But Emmett was one of the toughest players I ever seen for one factor. He didn't get hurt too much, and he really carried that team. He was tough. He was durable. He really was a workhorse for them. He was a pound clutch game man. He was one of those kind of guys that he was going to give you 40 times 40 type of player. But Emmett was tough. So it's one of those things that I might have more gravitate towards Faulk, but I'm not going to shortchange the toughness of him. I'm going with Mahomes because I'm going to tell you why. He's got 2 rings already. He's been to 3 Super Bowls. He's already had John Elway's career without a Terrell Davis. Because I'm going to tell you something. Elway is one of the prototypical quarterbacks, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Clutch, deep ball, etc. But until they were able to run the ball, he wasn't seeing any Super Bowl wins, and it did work against him. He was clutch. He came up big. But Mahomes, what he has done already, to me, puts him in the category only Brady Montana or better as far as I can see. And he already has Elway's career. He's got 2 rings already. Now, Elway lost to, let me get it straight so I can get my brain back. Smashed by Washington, smashed by Frisco, smashed by the Giants. Yeah. I have to think back on it when he lost. Giants, Washington, Frisco. And then he got, So if I give Mahomes 2 more trips to Super Bowl, he's going to win. He's going to have a better record than him too. And I think everything stacks up for him. Every time I think about Terry Glenn, I think about she and what Bill Parcells said. Um, Keyshawn was big. I have to say that I think Terry Glenn had what I call more better natural physical ability, but I think Keyshawn came up clutch. So it's a great contrast. It's like when you ask him about Falcon Smith, because one thing about these football situations, you're asking me about people that only the quarterbacks I can go in mano a mano. To me, Key was asked to do different things than Terry Glenn. I thought Glenn was more faster. I thought Key was more clutch with certain things he would do, catching over the middle, certain plays. So um, I give Key the edge. But it's not like I'm sitting there thinking that he was, because basically to me, they were like second tier receivers who came up in different ways to me, you know. So, but I stand by what I said about Mahomes. Because I mean, he's still a working. His if you go by his first half of his career, it speaks for itself. I'm taking Derrick Brooks because he was bigger with Tampa Bay. Seymour was bad with the Patriots, and he came up big. But Derrick Brooks, I just think that he dictated that front. His greatest sapping on guys where Brooks was that dude. And Seymour was bad, but I don't look at him. I look at that defense with him, Tyler, and I want to say with McGinnis. Uh, when I look at New England, I thought it was a combo and pieces together. But Derrick Brooks to me was that dude. He was that dude. I just think he had a little bit more of an edge to me. But that's not to take down anything from Seymour, because I do think that when Belichick cut him, let him go, that hurt him. But I think Derrick Brooks was a beast, and I just got a little bit more of an edge to him. But it's a good question, though. It's a good question. Good question. So, yeah, that's a good question. Definitely. I like Chef more, but Manny's got the W because he came up big, he came up clutch. Um, he didn't have the arm of Chef, but he always, his instincts were accurate. His Cleveland era almost matches Chef. What he did in Boston was legendary. He went out to the Dodgers and he still had something. Chef was one of those guys that he was talent was there and a great player. And I think, but Manny gave you a little bit more. I like Chef just like if I'm going on who I prefer of the two, because Chef's stroke was unique. He had that quick picker up or flex he would do. But I think Manny got him on. I think Manny got him overall. I like them both a lot, but for different reasons. I think Manny came up with more clutch though. Chef did too. But I think Manny, it's just something about Manny, you just kind of feel like, oh, Baker versus McGuire. If I gotta pick out the two, Frank Thomas was like the right-handed version of Tony Gwynn. But McGuire was such a big clutch hitter though. And he had clutch moments with Oakland and with St. Louis. So I have to give it to McGuire because he was more money. Thomas to me, even when they won, I didn't feel that he was like necessarily that he had his stats and he was, statistically. But McGuire to me was a better team player. I just think that everybody followed the line. And I think that's why McGuire gets a lot of love to this day. Because even people who want to put an asterisk or say stuff, they can't talk because McGuire did come up big. And I think he was more of a team player. And I think he was more happening in that regard. That's kind of like how I looked at Manny Ramirez and Sheffield. Like I might pick one guy for their natural physical attributes or how they die. But when I put it in consecutive with the team concept, that's why I got to say. That's a good one. Oh, you really picking my baseball brain. um, but it's really not a no-brainer for me. And it's not because I'm a Yankee fan. And to be honest with you, I'd probably be more comfortable hanging with Greg Maddux because I think Clemens is a good old boy, but Clemens was a better pitcher. Clemens, to me, is arguably the greatest right-hand pitcher I've seen in my lifetime. Maddox was poetic. He was kind of like an actor that could play a role and do it so well, like thespian level, except in the postseason when it came money time, that's why I have a problem with Maddox. Regular season, it's kind of like what they used to say about Peyton Manning. They call him a paper champion guy. You know, some guys are just incredible during a particular time. But Clemens reinvented himself. You know, when he went to Toronto, when he went to the Yankees. Hold on, let me hit this light real quick because it's getting dark. Give me a sec. And I'm going to say, all right, I'm back. Had to go make a good start, get that light going. Um, that's the only reason. Maddox was bad. Like if we go by regular season, when you talk about regular season, there are guys that when we're talking regular season, they belong in the conversation. But when we got the postseason, that's where they start to fade, and that's what happened to Maddox. That's the only reason. Let me get to the Pedro. You asked me about Pedro and Randy. Pedro, because Randy Johnson was great, but Pedro was consistent through his career more so, and Pedro came up clutch more so. You know, Randy Johnson didn't really move me in the postseason until actually he got to Arizona, because I didn't really as dominant as he was in Seattle didn't come to fruition, and that's where it showed. And Houston wasn't Houston at the time when they had him. Now, if Houston had been the Houston Astros with the with the Killer Bees, then I could have answered that better for him. But I got to give it to Pedro. Pedro was consistent, and he stayed consistent with it. Yeah, I remember when Pedro dumped Don Zimmer. Don Zimmer looking like Porky Pig. Said, "Boy, you out there with your big oink oink, and you got dumped. Don't do nothing stupid." But he did. But I have to give Pedro the edge. His consistency, even though Randy Johnson wasn't in the sneaks. If Randy got to the National League, I think if Randy Johnson had been playing nationally predominantly, that'd have been a different discussion. And I may have had Randy Johnson with Steve Carlton had he played predominantly in the National League, because he showed me a lot when he got over there, especially when he's with the Astros and with Arizona. That was his heyday to me. He was even better in the National League than he was in the American League. Hard to believe as great as he was with Seattle. But he really went up another notch. Because when the Yankees got him, he was past the pull date. And Frank Thomas, like I said, like the American League version of Tony Gwynn, it's just that I never really, as great as a talent he was, as somebody's game I never really felt. So, you know, because Verlander is more modernized, and this is a great argument and compelling that you brought this up, this is what you see more of. And he does look great as he got older. And I think he fit in great with Houston. He was in Detroit. But Earl Hershiser, it's kind of like, I'll say it like this. It's almost going to be blasphemous to say this, because I don't want to say Drysdale, but it's almost more closer to a Sandy Koufax type. He was that dominant. Hershiser was something else with the Dodgers. And he fit in so well, and he was so orchestrated. He had an uncanny ability. Now Verlander, again, because he, worst mistake, he left Houston. I think he went to the Mets, and that didn't work out. He was going to Detroit. Some of the things that worked against Verlander is not getting enough run support, because his record would be. But Hershiser was a very dominant pitcher, very dominant. So I have to give it to Hershiser. But it's close though. It's close. I like when you mention these two. You definitely show me your knowledge and your repertoire here. Definitely. But I remember these Clayton Kershaw ain't. Because if Clayton Kershaw dominant like Kershaw's, especially in the postseason, then they be calling Kershaw Koufax. They'd say he's Fernando Koufax. I mean, you would hear all kinds of hybrid names for him. So, just saying. But Verlander's a bad boy, though. He bad, but I gotta give it to Oral. Oral was I got him a little bit over him. But that was definitely a good Q in that one. Definitely. Glavin. Because Kurt Schilling is kind of like a Robert Horry type. His season is good, But it's postseason, that's when he's fire. And I don't like Schilling. He's money time come postseason. But Glavine is bad through and through. Glavine almost got that sleepy left-handed delivery and toss, but bad to the bone. And if it wasn't for Greg Maddux as his teammate, you might even hold him higher. It's just that Maddux had more of a dominant persona, but Glavine was a bad boy. Bad boy. And I got to give it to Glavine. Glavine, to me, was cut both ways. As a matter of fact, if Atlanta had him right now, they're going all the way. I hate it when you do this because I prefer Dwight, because Dwight's rookie year was better than anything Nolan Ryan ever did from my standpoint, because Nolan Ryan was never in command of that fastball. As hard as he threw all those no hitters and one hitters and everything he didn't have what Dwight had. However, we go by the body of work, and it's Nolan Ryan, because his body of work. Believe me, if Dwight Gooden had Nolan Ryan's body of work, he would have been Bob Gibson 1, Marshall, Satchel Paige all rolled into one. Because he had the potential to be the GOAT pitcher, period. He had the potential to be a step ahead of Roger Clemens, and it just didn't happen. And that's one of the most tragic ways when I think about a guy who had the. But I thought overrated, underrated. Well, this is like asking me this. So this question here is like a guy that's a better version of what another guy does. Because Kidd was a better version of what Rondo did in terms of guys who could beat you without scoring, with assists, rebounds, and assists, and also pushing the pace. So Kidd was a better version of Rondo. Having said that, Rondo was my favorite point guard in the late 00s, early ones, because I love the way he did it. But Kidd's a better version of Rondo. And yeah, nothing Rondo could do was better than Jason Kidd to me, because Jason Kidd was a prototype for that. And they both cut from the Magic Johnson school of where you don't have to score a lot, but if I stack up the score, I can give you not the Draymond Green 5-5-5, but 5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 steals. This is gonna be Melo. Mashburn was what I call in the really good range, but I never looked at Mashburn as a guy. Except I liked him in college a lot. And he was good early. He had parts of his career, and he had some upside. But Melo is one of those guys that you debate, not to the same. Well, you could make a case with Melo, kind of like a Vince Carter, a guy that could have been higher tiered. You could definitely make that argument. You could. You definitely could. Because we felt like we didn't quite get everything out of him. With Mashburn, I never felt he was that dude that was turning that corner. In the really good to very good, yes. Did I think he could have been great? Not like Melo. Not like Melo. Melo even in college was I even liked it better. Just didn't get, like I said, George Karl was his best coach. Had he been just a guy who wanted to be a cherry picker and run with teams and score, he could have been even more. But the sad part is they're in the same boat. It kind of at the end, because as Mashburn was good as he was, Melo kind of faded the last 4 or 5 years, and he just wore jerseys, and you kind of how good he was. But I think Melo got him overall. But I did like Mash, though. But I give Melo the edge there, though. You asked me about Derek Harper yesterday. I got to give Nash the edge in this one, because unlike Mark Price, Nash was a guy that was kind of like a forerunner because of the latness of his career. And I haven't seen that in basketball. In baseball, they make you take a steroid test. In the NFL, you see quarterbacks lasting. You're not going to see a lot of running backs playing that long. Some receivers, like Larry Fitzgerald, played a long time. You get some such exceptions with that. But if it's your baseball player that was doing what Nash did, they make him steroid test him every day. But because of what Nash did with Phoenix, that's why I got to give him over Derek Harper. He's going to look better than, and it depends on when it's a certain tier of a player. If he didn't win those MVPs and he had been the same Nash he was in Dallas, that would be a lot harder question to ask. And that could go almost either way. But that Nash era in Phoenix, he gets a leap over some people that he might need. 84, 96, and 03. And you can make a case for all three for different reasons. I mean, the 96 went pretty deeper. 84 was pretty iconic. 03, three of those guys were teammates, almost a fourth. And then what Detroit picked, which backfired. So it was a very, but that's, again, those three stand up the most to me. My most actually memorable one was probably 85, and I'll tell you why. Because that's where David Stern and the rigged NBA had Patrick Ewing going to the Knicks. So that one stands out the most because of how fixed that mess was. He wasn't going to no Seattle. That one was the most like, yeah, okay. Them old Hurricane teams, I'd say the late 80s, the U, they stood out to me. Of course, I like this past Michigan team because that was sentimental, personal. But I would probably say SC in the early O's was great. Those old Nebraska teams of the early 80s, Oklahoma the late 70s. Ohio State with Maurice Clarett was pretty intriguing. Some of those Joe Paterno Penn State teams. So it's kind of like I'm all over the place, but those teams kind of stood out. Yeah, I like different. It's kind of hard to say because there's a lot of different college teams that I like for different reasons. I like some of the things when Charlie Ward was with Florida State. I like some of the stuff that the Florida Gators had. I like some of the Bama teams that Saban had. I thought the Clemson team with Deshaun Watson was pretty unique. So again, Cam Newton with Clemson, not Clemson, but with Auburn. So, it's kind of, But I will tell you this, that 05 SC Texas game, the Rose Bowl, is the greatest college football game I've seen. That was incredible. And that's what Pete Christmas Carroll gave that lost that game when Lindell White gets stopped on fourth down and Vince Young played out of his mind. That game is the last time I was watching a college football game where I was like, wow, that had everything. Oh, so I go back. I saw Montana when he was with Notre Dame when he won the Cotton Bowl, and I knew there was something special about him. He's one of them that come to mind. I like Lamar. I like Mahomes in college. I liked when I talk about college football quarterbacks in college, there's a lot of them that, even I won't even want to say Vinny Testaverde stood out for me in college at the U. There were different guys that I liked. Now sometimes I have to be very careful because how their pro career turned out. Drew Bledsoe was nice at Washington State. I mean, I can go on. There's a lot of guys I like the way they played. So those guys kind of were, I want to say Mariota. Even cornball Robert Griffin III. Robert Griffin was something else when he was in college. I mean, I like the way he played. That's one of the reasons why I don't really get into that because, yeah. Well, Case Keenum, I remember how he got down. I remember, again, when I like some of these guys, and then I have to make sure I don't think about how they turned out in the pros. Because Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel were both something else in college. Peyton Manning was good. There's some guys. But again, sometimes I can't really get into it because, again, the college career and the NFL career is like night and day. I mean, I can tell you, for instance, Ryan Leaf was a beast in college and he came to the pros and he sucked. So I can't really, it's just not fair how I look at some of those guys and some teams because sometimes, they just don't really, it doesn't manifest itself to the next level. So, you know, so it makes for interesting, you know, there are some romantic stories. There's some stories that you romanticize, like Joe Namath in Alabama, then he went to the pros, you know. So there's certain guys. Yeah, that's wild right there. And they're two of the greatest backs ever. Sanders is in my top 5 ever, and Thurman's in my top. I'd say Thurman Thomas top somewhere between 11 and 15 all time as a running back. You know, but yeah, when you think about the specialness there, that was crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, I love those teams. You know, I still want like I said, remember Correct got that he played out his mind. He wanted to go to the NFL draft, and it's like if you beat the Hurricanes back then, you did something. I mean, they were um, Willis McGahee. So when the Bills got him, he got hurt. But I remember getting him. I was like, wow. Yeah, that was when I was talking about Claret. I never forget that game because he played out his mind. That was at the Rose Bowl. That was he played out his mind. He played out his mind. And I hated Ohio State. And I thought that flag came in real late. It was that game. And you beat the Canes back then. The Canes were on a high, yo. They were on a high. But Claret played out of his mind. That was one of the best single individual college performances I've ever seen. So, well, you definitely bring back memories with that. I remember a lot of that just like yesterday. I remember watching that game. It was on ABC. That's when college football still had some intrigue about it. I haven't been intrigued the last few years, if I'm honest. I mean, I was glad Michigan won it all, but they manhandled Washington last year. That mess with Georgia and TCU was embarrassing. So those days when you had a handful of those teams and you knew they were the teams, that was compelling. That was a different. And plus, you saw special players, or you saw guys who definitely were playing at the time. So, you know, that's what made it so special. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, good memories right there. Definitely good memories right there. And that's why I love having these Q&As, especially when you challenge me, make me think back because I can go back with it, and it don't seem just like yesterday. And I can remember those games how they played out because it looked like the Hurricanes were about ready on the cusp of getting ready to win, and the Buckeyes, that was something else. I was like I said, you know how sports has changed so much because you can remember certain teams looking a certain way, and then other teams coming along and taking it at the end. So yeah, so that's how I look at it. Yep. So feel free to ask me something else, cause I mean, yeah, you know, I just remember all those. But like I said, when I talk about college quarterbacks, I mean, I can think about J.C. Watts running the wishbone. He's now a congressman, a Republican congressman. I mean, when he's running the wishbone back with Oklahoma in the late 70s when Barry Switzer was his coach. And I see a lot of the stuff that they're running now that Lamar Jackson does that they was doing 30, 40, 40, 50 years ago. We talk about the racial aspect of the black quarterback in the NFL. So there's a lot of those guys, a lot of things, the wildcat offense, a lot of that stuff is not nothing new. It's just that you got guys now getting allowed to do that. But a guy like J.C. Watts was doing that for the Buckeye for Oklahoma back in the day. I remember it very well, J.C. Watts running that wishbone formation. That's when college football was really like college football. It's not like how it is now, more prorated, which has been the case, with shotgun formations and, you know, they changed the whole brand of college football. Just like college basketball used to be the zone, four corner spread, no shot clock, and you'd have games ending at 42-40. So all this stuff, a lot of stuff that you're seeing, they changed a lot of stuff to speed it up, to make it more offensive oriented. That's why it's so different now. You know, different styling. Not necessarily for the better. College football parity is real too, by the way. So even though you can't tell, because it's only like a certain amount of teams that get over and certain teams that don't. So yeah, different era for sure. hmm because I can remember formations that they used in college football. Now the two-point conversion was always there, and the NFL took some of that later. But now the price that they pay now with the NFL is that these kickers can't even kick extra points. It's kind of like the three-point ball in the NBA. They have a problem kicking extra points, but they can kick the long range. You got more cats who can kick 50, almost 60 yards now, but they can't make 20, 30-yard extra points or field goals. Go figure. That's what I see as a problem. It's just like NBA. Cats can't shoot 10, 12 feet, but they can shoot that three-point line. That's the problem you got. It's manipulating where they're going for the longer mile as opposed to the other one. So that's what's up. But there's nothing new under the sun, though. You know. I miss the days of live formation with the fullback, the power back, utilizing tight end little shorts. You was asking me earlier about Kelsey. The way Kelsey, the smart tight end, plays tight end like Shaquille O'Neal played center. Put a big body, pound low, and you say barbecue chicken, I'm gonna pound you. You make these tight ends become playmakers. That's the likes of what Tony Gonzalez did. What's it became, and you do that too. But to use your big body and impose your will, that's what made Grunk, and that's what makes Kelsey. The physicality, turn a 5-yard play into a chunk. That's what you do. It's like Jerry Rice, but with the physicality of a tight end. So, so, but anyway, yeah, Michael Vick was in Virginia Tech, but I couldn't, again, the thing about when you ask me about those, it's hard to say who's going to turn out to be great from what I've seen in college. I saw Mahomes and Lamar, but RG3 was actually a precursor to that, and it didn't really pan out that way. Because if you go by what I saw in college, RG3 looked better than Brady. Just saying, in college. Mariota looked great in college. Then Mariota, and I know it's still early in Jordan Love's career, but he looked better than that. I mean, what Mariota looked ain't really translated to the NFL. So again, it's not really fair because certain guys, you just, you can't really go by it. You really can't. You really can't. I mean, Troy Aikman in college was good. Did I think he was going to be necessarily better than Steve Walsh back then? That's hard to say. But again, it's coaching, it's the system. It's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors involved. A lot of factors. It's a different game when you get to the pros. And you know, that's why it's when we talk basketball, a great example is Christian Laettner. He might be one of the 5 greatest college basketball players I saw in my lifetime. Now, remember, I'm saying in my lifetime because I was in my early 20s when Laettner was in college, and he looked great. In that game against Kentucky where he was perfect and hit the game winner, you can put that almost with anything else after Magic, after Bird, Kareem's dominance at UCLA, Walton's dominance, Pistol Pete. You can put that in the same sense. He looked better than Jordan and Shaq in college. And Ewan and Akeem, I mean, he looked great. His college career, Laettner looked like he was going to be on par with maybe having a Dirk Nowitzki type of situation, maybe. He's going to be that. He just didn't turn out that way, but he was bad in college. So, you know. So, but again, that's why I don't really. It's a lost art. Guys that we see, there's some exception. There were some guys I saw, but again, you can't really gauge what's in the heart in the next level. Because did you see Emmitt Smith even with that great line in Dallas? Did you see him being that kind of back? No. You know, you saw O.J. Simpson with USC and we end up in the Bills, and that took a little while there too. Because if Nick Saban doesn't get the Bills right, would he have had a Reggie Bush career in the NFL? Think about it. Because they weren't doing that much, and he kind of was floundering. So they had to build offense around him. Just saying, you know. Sometimes also the racial aspect of a black player going to black college, and then he goes into the pros, and then he goes into another dynamic like Doug Williams. Did you know from Grambling he was going to be like that? Did he leave Tampa Bay to an MC championship game and then 10 years later win a Super Bowl with Washington and be dominant and probably have arguably the most dominant one-sided battle ever in a Super Bowl, which to me I still haven't really seen. You know, Montana lit up Elway against Denver. It wasn't the way Doug Williams unloaded against Denver. Haven't seen that. That was a beatdown. So again, you know, I saw Deion Sanders in college and I saw that coming and evolve. But there's some things, you know, again, it's systematic. It's a lot different. It's a lot different. So, you know. So I don't see nothing right now. I don't know what happened. They still say 2 people zone. They still say, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. It still says got the live chat on, but I don't know what's up. So, but anyway, I'll be on for a couple minutes. I think they're gonna try to. I've still been on, still been talking, but no one came through. I haven't heard any more Q&A, so we'll see what's up. I'll be on for a couple more minutes. Definitely enjoyed the questions. Again, it's been great. I'm gonna watch these games. Glad. Props to you, T, and anybody else who came through with all the great questions. We covered the main sports. We covered some great them that or that. That was definitely on point. So it's definitely hitting, and appreciate that. So thank you for coming out, and I'm gonna call it a day. I don't see nobody else coming, so because my scan, I'm trying to figure out what's up. I got all my stuff on, but just trying to see what's up. So you know. Just looking at stuff, just trying to see what's up. So, I'm just trying to figure it out. It's like everything kind of came and went. So, anyway, I hope everybody's going okay with this weather because it's been bad weather across back east in different places, so not getting caught up in the storms and everything. So um, hope everything is cool. I don't know what happened here. So it's got it down to nobody. So anyway, I'm gonna be on for about another minute, then I'll sign off. Cause I don't know what happened. It says I'm live and I haven't seen anything else come through on the board. So, sometimes these switches be tripping. We was definitely having a good rapport. And trying to see what's up. So it kind of went blank. I don't even know what's up. I was trying to see. Okay, wait a minute. Wait. Now I'm back on now. I see it. Saban retired, I think NIL's the main issue in transporters. Yep. Okay, now I got you. Okay, Mark C. Okay, let me address this real quick. So I see you now. Wishbone offense was when guys would would run and flick the ball like they were running in motion. So the quarterback would pitch the ball to his back. And that was real common in the late 70s. And they did not have any black quarterbacks were running like that. So they were kind of like, they were pitches, So that was like one of the things where they would pitch the ball as an option. And so they would run out and then pitch the ball back, pitch the ball to the guy running. And the quarterbacks they were athletic, but that's what they were doing, especially black quarterbacks, because they could run the fake pitch and then run out. So the wishbone was like set up with two fullback, running back, and the quarterback, and the option halfback. So they would pitch. And a lot of black quarterbacks suffer from that because they didn't get drafted by the NFL because they were seen as more as tailbacks. That's how they got typecast. But they could actually move and play. So Mark C, that's where it was. And you had to see like J.C. Watts. If you get a chance to watch Oklahoma when Barry Switzer was the coach, you'll see the wishbone offense. And it's a pitch back from the quarterback to run back and they're darting out. Lamar Jackson, does it too. But he actually, sometimes he fakes the pitch and keeps on running. But it's an old school. It worked against black quarterbacks going to the pros. I don't know what the Bears are going to do. Okay, Ted, I'm going to address this real quick. No, I don't know because, again, if Caleb doesn't come out, the Bears will look foolish and he doesn't want to go to Chicago. That would be embarrassing. Nikki Haley sold out tap dancing like Vivi. I did a video about it. It was embarrassing. And she thought she was going to get some white votes. They're not going to vote for her. And Trump's not going to touch her. And they know she's a sellout. And they never respect sellouts. I don't care what race you're not white. They're going to remind you that. Yeah, I got you back now, Ted. Nikki Haley was in his embarrassment. So she embarrassed herself. But she's getting too deep, so she has to say whatever to save face. Yeah, Ron Dayne's a great example. He was a big back. A lot of them big backs, aside from Derrick Henry, a lot of them backs who came out, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's why I don't really, you asked me about guys I saw in college. Everybody that played for Alabama looked like a beast until they come to the pros, especially the running backs. And they come to the NFL, they end up being like cupcake. And Ron Dayne was like a precursor to Derrick Henry. He was a big boy. Didn't really show me much. Didn't really show me much. Didn't mount to quite like what I thought he was going to be because he was big, but it didn't really matter. Saquon Barkley then had 3 times more of a career than Ron Dayne. And when I saw Ron Dayne, he was, yeah, I see your comments now because I had to hit another button to get to him. And I lost some people. I still had all the other stuff, and I just addressed, for whatever reason, it just had went blank. But I appreciate Mark C was talking to me. And I hope that, like I said, I would tell Mark C. Yeah, so like I said, if you get to watch the Oklahoma, type in Oklahoma, like against Nebraska back when Tom Osborne and Barry Switzer were coaching against each other, and J.C. Watts. You'll see the type in the wishbone offense with J.C. Watts. You'll see exactly what I mean by the wishbone offense, because that's what Lamar Jackson basically does. Mahomes kind of does it, but it's a naked bootleg. But ain't nothing new under the sun. It's just that the brothers, the black quarterbacks are so faster now, and with the mechanics that with the linemen had to keep up. So they changed the way that they allow it. But black quarterbacks were doing this 45 years ago, 46 years. There's nothing new. It's just the NFL's racist ways and being slow because they wanted to turn every black quick runner or quarterback into a receiver or tailback. That's all that is. But anyway, yeah, I see. I addressed your comments now, Ted. So if you happen to still be on, I addressed it. But that's all I got to say about Nikki Haley. She's trash. And why would you take down? You took down a Confederate flag after Dylan Roof, but you said there was no racism in America. Yeah, okay. A young white boy who barely got got peach fuzz on his face, not even old enough to go into the military, shoots up a black church, but there's no racism in America. Yeah, okay. Whatever you say. And you had a Confederate flag sitting in 2017. I didn't say 1917. I didn't say 1977, 87, 97. I said 2017. Yeah, okay. Keep telling yourself that, Nikki Haley. Keep telling yourself that. So I don't think much of her at all. That's not even her real name. That's her American name. And besides, she looks like the chick from SUV or Law and Order. She doesn't even look like her own ethnicity stuff. But that's another video, another story. She sold out. So anyway, I hope like I said, sorry I missed y'all because I had to hit another button just to see the comments. And I hope I covered all the bases. We touched a lot of stuff today. Appreciate everybody that stopped through. And I just got it. So I assume everybody's kind of gone now. I did address all that. Sometimes these things be working, sometimes they don't. So it all depends. Appreciate Mark C. Glad to have somebody from Scotland. I'd like to hear more from you too. Definitely would like to hear more. Definitely like to hear more. Because I kick it in the UK thing, so definitely would like to hear more. Saban retired. Oh, yeah, let me address this one. So Saban retired, and I think transfer portals. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but we earned it. Oh yeah, so let me address this that I didn't see what you said. You mentioned Ed Reed, who's one of the greatest ever. Sean Taylor, Vince Wilfork. Yeah, Ohio State was bad back then. It's different now, though. The problem with Ohio State, they just got to get the right quarterback and the right pieces. That was it. But Urban Myers was a better coach. So you got to have the right coach. Ohio State is it's like Ohio State and Penn State. Ohio State is still a tier ahead with Penn State, but it's similar to that. The quality has dropped just enough. One of those teams loses 1 to 2 games, the other loses 2 to 3, but they don't beat quality teams. That's what's hurting you. That's the difference right there. Because Ohio State is still good enough to be anywhere from 1 to 3. It's just that when they lose to us or they lose to somebody else, they don't look like they belong in the top 5. Penn State wins those 10 games, but they lose those 2 games, they don't belong in the top 10. That's the tier difference. One doesn't look like a top 5, the other doesn't look like a top 10. That's the separation. And then you can blame it on portals and other things, but that's how I look at it, though. Yeah, I got your comments and everything, so I think I addressed that, though. So that's how I look at it. I always say there are tiers to this, so But yeah, Ohio State was stacked back then. It was a different day and time too. Recruits, talent, level. So I'll be right back. If anybody comes on, I'm gonna take a peek. Gotta go make a run. Let's see. Everybody came through. So anyway, all of the night. Glad everybody came through. Hope I addressed everything. Great. Looking forward to this game later with the Bills and KC. So I'll be back next week unless I come back before, unless somebody else comes on. But I addressed all most comments, and what I missed, I made up for. So you'll definitely hear my answers. Sorry about that. For whatever reason, I didn't have the picture on clear, but I caught up everything later. So anyway, peace and the best. Appreciate everybody that came through. I always appreciate you, Tia, for always doing the Q&A. Appreciate the cat from Scotland, Mark. Appreciate that. Everybody that came through. All the questions were great. I welcome all the debates. Anything you want to talk about, feel free. And I see somebody came on just now, so I'm going to see if anybody got anything else to say before I bounce. If I don't get any more questions before I go, I'm going to sign out. But we're going to see if anybody got any more comments. I got all your comments in, Ted, and you'll definitely see it when you see the replay of this video. So I'm going to sign out. Peace and the best. I'll catch y'all next time. Be safe. Be careful out there. Stay warm, too. Stay heated. All right, peace.